All right, Jagannath, hold that thought. Let me also bring in Ruchit Jain from Angel Broking, who's joining in today. Ruchit, thanks for taking the time out. What's your reading looking like? Because as I look at the spot level, it seems that we've gone sub the 200-day moving average as well on the Nifty, which was somewhere around 84.14, wasn't it?
Yeah, good afternoon, Priyank. Well, last week we were talking about this support level of 84.80, which if gets breached, then we are talking that this market could lead to a corrective action. And today's market action, if we see, then that level has been breached, and the thing to majorly watch out that the support level has been breached with a gap down opening today. So according to the gap theory in technical analysis, unless markets again cover this gap area and moves above that, the short-term trend would be down from here on. Although in near term, since this is expiry week, we are not expecting much downfall from current levels now. 8300 is the major support for markets now, which I think it would get tested in maybe next couple of days. If we take entire retracement from 7940 to recent high of 8650, then it is coming in 8300, and that's where we believe that markets would markets would hold this today's corrective move, and then again remain sideways for next couple of days. So one can watch out levels of 8300 as a support level going ahead, and 8480, which was a support last week, would now tend to act as a resistance in near term.
Is there a good level to go long then? Is that what you're advising clients to do at the current mark, or you probably want to wait out for the next couple of minutes and then advising clients, just to get a sense from a strategy point of view, Ruchit?
So as of now, we are not looking to buy into index if it comes at the support level. Well, probably we'll just see how it pans out next couple of days. In case if it starts moving up with good volumes, then we may take a call of getting long into the index. But right now, since the momentum is on the negative side, and we have seen that it's a broader market selling where advanced decline is majorly in favor of the declines, and it's not a selling where only few stocks are taking the indices down. So you won't go for any kind of bottom fishing. It's just the support level to west. So in case if those traders who are going short in the index could look to cover their short positions around 8300.
Let's take a look at some of those capital good majors as well. BHEL, L&T. What are some of the levels you're tracking on them, Ruchit, and what's the strategy there?
So broadly, BHEL and L&T, both these stocks have been in an uptrend if we just see the weekly and monthly charts. Larsen, we believe that this corrective action would again be a good opportunity for medium to long-term investors to get into the stock. Good support is placed around 1700, 1720. So in case if the stock comes in a day or two around around this zone of 1700, 1720, it probably would be a good opportunity to buy this stock. But as I said again, it would not be a short-term play, since in the near term the momentum is on the negative side, and unless there are any signs of reversal, if we may go for some days of sideways activity once this selling is over. But for medium to long-term investors, those who have more than 4 months or 6 months point of view, I think this corrective action in BHEL and Larsen should be used as a good buying opportunity.
All right, BHEL and Larsen could be looked at is the call coming in as far as technicals are concerned. But Jagannath, let's talk about Tech Mahindra now, because that's the other earnings that we're watching out for. In the next couple of minutes, we'll probably have some perspective as far as Tech Mahindra quarterly performance is concerned. Any expectations from Tech Mahindra, Jagannatham, and how one should be looking at the stock?
We have maintained a neutral hold stance for quite some time. We like the stock. We like the idea. Just that we have rallied a lot. We have been recommending for quite low levels. I think the stock has rallied a lot. I think in general, I feel that it's an excellent name. Just that rally has catch up. So to that extent, we maintain a hold stand.
Okay, fair enough. Ruchit, your call on a Tech Mahindra?
Tech Mahindra, since last 4 months, it has already corrected significantly from about a high of 730 to 430, 440. Now, when the markets are correcting, we have seen that there are a lot traders are looking at opportunities in other stocks which have not corrected to go short bets on. So it's probably we may see this short covering rally in this stock. We have already seen in last couple of weeks the selling has been halted and minor pullbacks have been seen. So I think this this stock has limited downside from current level, and if you see the near-term perspective, and on the higher side, technically 555 is the next resistance area. So probably which is about 7 to 8% still higher from current levels. So I think in near term the stock has potential to go up to 555.
Okay. Let's take a look at some of these banking and financial names as well. What's on your radar, Mr. Tunungutla, as we sort of progress forward and we're still awaiting some earnings as well from the pack, from the larger banking space, what's on your mind?
In terms of banking, I think mid-cap private sector banking can be right? So, maybe as overall market there last time.
Right, Mr. Tanagutta, I'm going to come back to you in a moment. That line's a little unclear, so I'm just going to come back to you in a moment. We'll just fix that. Ruchit, let me get your perspective as well. Our top banking picks at the moment.
If you just observe first the Bank Nifty index, then in last 4-5 days of corrective action, this index has retraced 50% of this entire last 1 month of up move. Where we are talking in Nifty index may retrace 50% and go up to 8300, this index has already retraced, which shows that the correction in banking index or the stocks in from the banking sector have been more sharp than that of what you've seen in a Nifty index. So we think that some more correction would come in this index, and on the lower side 17,950, which would be the next 61.8% retracement support, is quite possible in this index. So as of now, for short term, we are not recommending to go long any of the banking stocks. But definitely, if on dips we get, then Kotak Bank is one of the outperformer in this entire corrective action, which has not shown any major corrective action. So going ahead, if the uptrend resumes, then Kotak Bank might be again be outperformer and rally much more than what other banking stocks would do. So Kotak Bank is on our radar, which could be used as a buying on dips opportunity.
All right, so that's interesting moves as far as Kotak Mahindra Bank is concerned and the entire banking sector. In focus, remember, tomorrow you have a whole slew of mid-cap earnings to watch out for as well. But, I was discussing Tech Mahindra from a fundamental standpoint. Any strategy on Tech Mahindra, Ruchit, ahead of numbers?
I think one should not go short in the stock now,
Okay.
just because the stock in last couple of weeks have given a pullback rally. It's quite possible that this pullback rally would sustain, and once the numbers are out, I think 550, 55, as I told earlier, is quite possible. It may be due to short covering itself, and as of now we are not seeing any large volumes. So it, just because of the short covering also, we may see this stock going higher. So 550, 55 is quite possible. So one should not create short positions just because markets are going down and the stock has given a pullback in last couple of weeks.
Okay, just a few more minutes left to go. Let's take a look at some of the other mid-caps that are moving this afternoon and get a few strategies there. We're seeing a Persistent that's looking strong. We've got Relaxo on earnings, Eros, Rajesh Exports, some of the names there on the higher side. Lumax again, Circuit due to earnings. Century Enka is buzzing today. Geometric is on the move. SpiceJet, lots of speculation in that counter, so that's one of the reasons it's also moving higher. On the downside, though, we've got the JP stocks that are continuing to lose ground, a whole host of them, of course. Some of the other infra, real estate names are all on the downside, so beta is really not having a good day right now. And even from the small cap index, if we take a look, we've got a whole host of stocks that are also seeing a bit of weakness settling in. Mr. Tanungutla, let me get your sort of top picks from the mid-cap space, and particularly post-earnings when we've actually started to see some of these stocks deliver. What's standing out to you in terms of value?
We have given a buy on the Himmat Invest idea right from 110 levels, which the stock has extremely did well in the last 10 days or so. Minjalato, we like the idea. NRB bearings, even though it was a slightly rough quarter, I feel that this correction that is coming is an opportunity to accumulate. So one more name we are bullish on is Century Plywood. So there is a correction after the results, but I think this is an opportunity to buy. I think Century Plywood is another opportunity. GSK Consumer Healthcare is one more name probably I feel it should be on the buyer's list.
Fair enough. So some of the mid caps that have been buzzing in trade today on the back of earnings is what we've been seeing. But talk about some of the other names as well from the broader market space. It's been buzzing. Let me try and, Ruchit, let's try and see if you got some of the technical outlook for some of these active names today. Jindal Saw and Maharashtra Seamless have been extremely active. Jindal Saw shot up on the back of those strong numbers, 20% higher almost. And Maharashtra Seamless also seems to be playing a little bit of a catch-up trade to that, is what we've been noticing. And we've also got SpiceJet that's continuing to see some bit of gains, 5.5%. Mid-cap counters, Ruchit, but any technical reading on these guys? All right, Ruchit, if you can hear me, any technical outlook on Maharashtra Seamless and Jindal Saw? All right, fair enough. We'll just try and fix that audio with Ruchit again. But in the meantime, Abha, you're seeing quite a bit of a weak move now in the index. 1.9% lower, 8361 is what we're seeing as far as the index is concerned, is what we've been tracking. It's a 160-point knock today.
All right, Mr. Tunangatla, what's going to be on your mind as we progress through the week? Some of the stocks that you're keenly watching, whether it be for earnings or in terms of levels, what's really going to be on your radar?
I think concentrate on the quality of the companies and the focus on the which are producing the results, because China, Greece, these international factors, nobody has any control on. I think as an investor, you should focus on the quality of the companies that you are investing. I think sooner than later, you should be yielding the results.
All right, pull up Inox Wind for you. You've got profit up quite massively, and sales are have also almost doubled, is what we're seeing in Q1. As far as Inox Wind is concerned, stocks reacting to those numbers positively in a weak market, up nearly 3.5%. But it looks like a pretty strong performance on a year-on-year basis for Inox Wind. You've got the bottom line at 64.1 crores versus roughly around 30 odd crores is what we are seeing as far as on a YOY comparison. So stocks up almost 3.5 to 4% now is what we've been tracking on that counter so far. Jain Entertainment, Bajaj Auto and Asian Paint, some of the other large caps that are actually holding steady. Tata Steel, Hero Moto and Hindalco along with ONGC are taking a knock of anywhere between 4.5 to 5.5%. Jagannatham, top picks then in this market, what would you work with, what would you avoid?
In terms of in this market, I think as we just discussed, concentrate on the companies which are producing good results. As you said, Inox Wind, we are covering Inox Leisure, where the same group company, which is clear beneficiary of the Bollywood performance. I think we maintained a buy. I feel that it should go much higher levels. We are also given a buy on PVR because yesterday, thanks to your capital, since the stock has corrected, one should use that fall in the PVR price to enter the stock.
All right, fair enough, Jagannatham. Just hold that thought. Let me just go across to the market close as well. We just got a couple of seconds for the markets to end this carnage of a session that we've actually seen in terms of trade, with the benchmarks cracking almost 2%, and a sub 8400 close is more or less guaranteed today at 8360 is where the market or the Nifty is slated to close. And the weakness came from Tata Steel, Hero Moto, at the top of the losers list, Hindalco, Axis Bank, ONGC, Kane, Bharti, Vedanta, Tata Motors, all of them taking a knock of 3 to 5.5% was the clear norm for a couple of these counters. It's been brutal in terms of the way the carnage has really played out today. It's been extremely weak in terms of the benchmark indices. Yes Bank, ACC, Ambuja ahead of numbers, still awaiting that one. L&T took a knock of almost 3%. Yeah, you've got barely 4 stocks on the Nifty that have actually closed in positive. So you're talking about almost 46 stocks actually losing out is what we've seen on the index. And among the gainers, Tech Mahindra and Z were the only stocks that actually saw some bit of substantial gain. Bajaj Auto and Asian Paints closing more or less flat. Some more names that lost out: Maruti, HDFC Bank, IndusInd, HDFC, SBI, GAIL and Bank of Baroda along with Infosys were also a couple of the weaker names that we saw in terms of trade today. ACC, Yes Bank, BHEL and NTPC along with Idea were a couple of the other stocks that lost out. But one thing's pretty evident, Ava, it was a pretty brutal session that the markets have seen, and finally it's come to a close with a knock of almost 160 points on the Nifty is what we've seen. Sensex down 550 points.
Not a pretty sight. I mean, we saw that pressure on the mid-caps too, but if we pull up a mid-cap index for now, you'll see that we still had plenty of stocks that also, of course, managed to buck the trend on account of earnings, for example. So Relaxo is, for instance, up 3.5% on the back of earnings. Plenty of other names too. Rajesh Exports, for instance, Lumax, Jindal Saw, all these that actually moved on that front. Other stocks for different news triggers, SpiceJet, Eros, some of these names as well that were buzzing around. A little bit of pressure building in on mid-caps when it came to the beta names, or when it came to, for instance, the high leverage counters, real estate, cement, some of the infra names. Those are the pockets where we saw pressure even building in when it came to the mid-cap pack. But overall, down over 1% even on the mid-cap index, in line with what we saw pretty much on the heavyweights. Not looking too pretty, and all in all, pressure building in there. Ruchit, going ahead, top stocks to watch out for?
So it's a mix of the stocks that we are recommending, short and a blend of short and long positions. We have since said that we are a bit negative on the banking index from here on. So probably we may see a corrective action in Yes Bank. That's where we are recommending to create short positions from 2-3 days perspective. So Yes Bank, one can look to short on any kind of rallies if we get any kind of pullbacks if we get tomorrow. We are having target of 755 on this stock, and one can keep a stop loss above 818, 820 levels. And another stock from mid cap, we are recommending to go along CESC. We have seen that in recent part the stock has outperformed and have started this higher top higher bottom formation. So the downside we believe that could be limited in this stock from current levels. And although we don't have much aggressive targets on the higher side, but 600, 610, that's what we are eyeing that the stock could come. So with the stop loss below 548, one can look to create long positions in CESC.
Any specific call on a Maruti? Ruchit, we're watching out for earnings tomorrow.
Yeah, overall the stock is still an uptrend. It's not shown any signs of weakness even at current levels. The higher top higher bottom still continues, formation of higher top higher bottom still continues in the stock. So in case if after the earnings, if any kind of dip comes in the stock, then probably any such dip should be used as a buying opportunity. Good support for the stock is placed around 4100. So in case of after or before the result, if the stock comes around 4080, 4100, that could be used as a buying opportunity in this.
All right, thanks for joining us today, Ruchit. Let's take a look at what else you're watching out for going ahead. Mithali?